What's up guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to become Emperor Palpatine in Destiny 2. I made a build like this about a year ago, and this one is way better, pretty much turns it up to like a 33. It is pretty crazy. And we'll be first going over the update to bottom tree Stormcaller, also the Storm Dancer's Brace exotic, then finally adding the full build in, which makes it absolutely insane. Today's the last day my code error is 30% off for G Fuel, so definitely take advantage of that. Click the link in the comments description and find something you like. So looking at the updates to Stormcaller, quite a while ago they updated Storm Trance in general to increase damage the longer you hold it down, but this most recent update buffed the bottom tree by quite a bit. First, Arc Souls, the duration was increased from 12 to 13 seconds, then the rate of fire was also increased by 10%. Then with the Electrostatic Surge, it will now increase sprint speed when allies are near. And finally with Landfall, now fires 5 arc ground projectiles on cast. So looking at those changes, the Arc Soul puts in some good work now. Each burst is enough to kill a low tier enemy, and with the rate of fire increase, it's going to be switching targets and killing them pretty quickly. And this only will get better with teammates because you can just drop your Rift and give everyone that stands in it this Arc Soul, which honestly will add a decent chunk of damage to your entire fire team for both accurate and also single target damage. So it's definitely strong now, and when you're near allies it'll recharge faster and you'll be able to sprint quicker. But the most important change to bottom tree is now the landfall change. When you pop it, it will pretty much just kill everything nearby, even majors, it doesn't matter. It'll send out 5 chains of electricity, which will kill everything in every direction and give you an extra extend apparently, which is pretty cool. And I found this is mostly great for Ackler. It does do a chunk of damage to high health targets. As you see, Carl, like usual, does not cooperate and he flies away. So doing that on a target, then holding down the regular attack will be a pretty good combo for total damage output. It's not like crazy compared to other supers, but it's definitely really good. And another thing I found is for whatever reason, it's also blinding targets. So I'm not sure if that's like a secret buff or that's been around for quite a while, but it seems to be blinding targets on pop too. Then we can throw the Storm Dancer's Brace on top of that, which will give you a stacking damage buff to your super for each target you kill up to ×10. Then once the super is done, it'll refund energy based on the number of kills. A cool bit of synergy right off the bat is that the landfall will give you a pretty high stack right off the bat, which means the second you start using the regular attack, you already have close to the max buff, which is ×10, and that will double the damage. Also, this exotic will give you up to 50% of your super back once it's done based on the number of kills, and I have yet to pop it for Ackler and not get the full 50% back. And yes, I did test this with Energy Converter mod. They do not stack, both are hard capped to the first 50% of your super, so even if you could time it right, you'd only get the first 50%. Another incredibly important perk on the subclass that we'll be using in this build is Rising Storm, which is when we use our melee, we'll get a chunk of our melee, grenade, and super back. And like most region buffs in this game, it's based on your stats. So as you see, my discipline is 100, so that is why I got the most out of that, which is going to be very important for later in the video. So now throwing in the full build, there's a lot going on, so we're going to break it down piece by piece. Starting with the weapons, we have the Judgment with Demo and Osmosis. I'm still looking to make a video on this weapon on its own because I think it's one of the best hand cannons in the game now, and it's kind of the secret sauce to a lot of builds right now. Then we also have the Plug 1 because it is arc, then has Reservoir Burst. It is one of the best Ackler fusion rifles in the game, and with all the mods going on this season, it's going to be really good for Major Clear 2. Then finally, in our power slot, we have the 1K or Sleeper, or really any linear fusion if you want, but 1K is definitely the best overall for boss DPS. And now is when this build gets crazy. So looking at what we have for our grenade, we have Elemental Ordnance. So whenever we throw our Pulse Grenade, we'll get an Arc Elemental to spawn in. Then on our gloves on Stasis, we have the Grenade Kickstart, which will give us roughly like 20% of our grenade right when we throw it. So that is a good chunk right off the bat. Then on our helmet, we have 2 stacks of Ashes to Assets, which will give us super energy on grenade kills, which will be happening quite often with this build. So looking at how that works, all you do is throw your grenade, and depending on how many enemies you kill with that grenade, you'll get a pretty good chunk of super. You'll pick up the Elemental Well, which will give you a chunk of all of your abilities back. Then just with a few kills with your Judgment, which has Demo on it, you'll have your full grenade back. And you could also use your melee, which looking at what we have for our melee, first we have Elemental Charge. When we pick up that Arc Well from our grenade, we will get 2 stacks of Chargeable Light. And with those stacks, we'll be using Heavy-Handed for both parts. The top one will get half of our melee back when we use it. The second part is when we're surrounded and use our Fusion Rifle, we should get all the ammo back and have infinite ammo. Then we also have 2 stacks of Invigoration, which will give us a good chunk of our melee energy back when we pick up an Orbital Light. So for our melee, when we use it, we'll get a chunk of our grenade, melee, and super back. And because of heavy-handed, we'll get another 50%. So we pretty much get 75% of our melee back instantly. We pick up an Orbital Light from a double kill with our Judgment, and we already have our melee back. And the final mods we have on the build are Font of Wisdom. Whenever we pick up the Arc Elemental Well, We will get a 30-second regen buff to our super, which will max out our intellect, which is extremely important because whenever we melee, the amount we will get per melee will be based on that stat. So now with this mod, it will be tier 10, and we'll get the max energy from our melee hit. Then we also have Phantom Might to increase our arc weapon damage whenever we pick up the Arc Elemental Well, which will help both our Judgment and then also our Plug 1. And the final mod is the Artifact 1, the Particle Deconstruction, which will make both our Plug 1 and 1k do crazy DPS and make this build still really good for boss fights. So now how the full build works is you pop your super, which will just clear the entire room because of landfall. Then you go around using the regular attack and clear things out, and once that is done, you'll get the first 50% of your super back instantly. Then what you do is you just melee, which will give you a chunk right off the bat and get very close to getting your melee back off the rip. Then you want to throw your grenade to get the Elemental Well, become Chargeable Light again. Also, all the kills with your grenade itself will give you huge chunks of super energy. At that point, you should have your melee back, use that again, and you pretty much have your full super again in just a few seconds. So you use your super, runs out, you melee, grenade melee, and just like that, you already have your next one. So overall, the uptime on both your grenade, melee, and super in this build is absolutely insane. You pretty much can just chain them forever. And then when you do use your super, it has really good AoE accuracy just right off the bat when you pop it. Then with the stacking damage to holding down the attack, then also the Storm Dancer's Brace, it does really good damage, and you'll just be running through everything in the game. And then when it runs out, you just do that quick little combo and you have another one. Then if you want, you still have your Plug 1 with Reservoir Burst, which should have infinite ammo because of the second part of Heavy Handed, so that is obviously really good for aggro too. You have your Judgment, which is a pretty good hand cannon and has demo built in, so that will help get your grenade back. Then also when you make orbs with it, picking up the orbs will help you get your melee back, and you should never have to reload it because of demo. And you still have your 1k for boss fights with Particle Deconstruction. So overall, this entire build has no holes in it. It's just good for everything, and it honestly might be my favorite build this season. I'm sure I will still manage to top it somehow like I usually do at some point, but as right now, this is definitely my favorite thing I've made so far, and it is really fun and really cool. So that is how you become Emperor Palpatine in Destiny 2 and unlock unlimited power. Anyways, today's the last day. My code Ehroar is 30% off. Definitely take advantage of that. The rest of the video will just be some straight gameplay. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.